Hi, I'm Dave Clayton. I'm a Photoshop and InDesign instructor, and I'm really pleased to be teaching for the Photoshop Virtual Summit Part 2 this November from the 9th to the 13th. In this video, I'm just going to be showing you a quick tip, and it's called There's a New Shape in Town. So let's jump into it. Okay, in this video, it's not so much a tip, but it's more kind of a tip and a new feature. It's something that's been added to Photoshop 2021 that actually got me quite excited. And when you see it, you'll be thinking, Dave, you're sad. Why are you excited about this? But it's actually the addition of not only a shape, but something that comes with the shapes. So let's just quickly look over in the left toolbar. Now we've got our rectangle tool, line tool, ellipse tool. We've now got a triangle tool. Now this is something that wasn't in 2020. And if you're thinking to yourself, Dave, there was a triangle tool in 2020, let's just jump over to 2020 and have a look. Okay, so this is Photoshop 2020. I'm just going to come over here to the shape panel. And we've got a rectangle tool, rounded rectangle, ellipse, polygon, line, custom shape. There's no triangle. How we did a triangle was we selected the polygon tool. We clicked once on the workspace. Then we could go ahead and change the size of our triangle. So I'm going to make that 600 by 600. Obviously, number of sides 3. I don't want smooth corners. I don't want a star. I just want a regular triangle. And it's just going to draw a triangle. So there's nothing special there. Let's just increase that stroke a little bit so we can see what we've got. So I'm just going to swing that round like so. And that's our triangle. That's how we got one. That's all there is there. Let's just have a look over the properties. There's nothing here as well. So there's a triangle there. It's okay. That's how we used to do it. That's what we were used to. Let's go back to 2021. Okay, so in Adobe Photoshop 2021, we've got this new triangle tool. And I'm going to show you what it does. And you're probably thinking again, Dave, you don't need to show us what a triangle does. We know it's 3 sides. But let's just have a look at what this triangle is going to do for us. So if we come up here to the top and if we click on the gear setting, we've got some options. So we can have an unconstrained triangle. We can have an equilateral triangle, which means we're not going to need the shift key. We can also have a fixed size triangle and proportional. So we can constrain the proportions by deciding what size it's going to be. And we can draw that out from the center. So up the top here, this is just something that's always been in there. So we can change the thickness of the path option so we can see what we're drawing. I'm going to leave that alone for the moment. I'm going to go ahead and draw an equilateral triangle from the center. So I'm going to come down to the middle of my artboard and I'm just going to click and drag. I'm not holding the shift key down or anything. I've just drawn a triangle. Now I'm going to come over here and give it a stroke. Weirdly, my Photoshop's behaving a bit odd and it never gives it the stroke that I want. So we're just going to click on that. I don't know why I'm getting this. I've tried to reset it, but I am using a pre-release here. Just click on the line. So I've got a triangle there and you're probably still thinking, why am I excited about this? Well, if you use Adobe Illustrator, there's a new feature been added to the shapes and I'm going to show you what that is. For those of you who like using shapes and don't use Illustrator, but you do like using Photoshop and creating icons and logos, this is a really nice, cool addition. If we come over to the shape, we can see at the top here, there's this little dot on the inside, and this is a radius handle. So if I click and drag that in, that's going to round off the edges of my triangle, and it's live. So I can keep pulling that all the way in, and I can go all the way back out again. So if you're wanting to make some vector shapes or vector logos, this is really, really useful. So that's the setting on the triangle. Now we'll just quickly come back over here, click on the triangle again. I'll just show you one of those other options. So let's go unconstrained and let's just see here. I can now draw whichever triangle I want, whatever shape I want. So I can pull that one out a little bit wider. And again, you can see that we've got these radius controls here as well, which is really cool. But that's not all. It's not just the triangle. It's also in the other shapes. So let's just delete these two for a second. And let's come over to the rectangle. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle in the middle of the workspace. I'm going to give it my very odd looking stroke. So we're just going to reset that. And again, in the corners, I've got these radius controls, and I can click and pull them in, and I can set the radius to the rectangle. Now, you used to be able to do it over here in the properties panel, which you still can do, but it's great that you can just do it on the desktop without having to mess around with these settings here. You can just do it manually. So let's just pull that over to one side quickly. Let's go over to our polygon. So let's click on that and draw that shape out. And we've got the same again. We've got this little control handle here, and we can just pull that in and we can set that radius so we've got some nice round corners. Now, for me as a designer, whilst I will use Photoshop and Illustrator, this is really cool because I can do more control over my shapes than I previously could. Even though I could use the properties and the settings, this is so much easier and much more intuitive. And of course, the other thing as well you can do with these shapes is once you've drawn them out and decided how you want them to look. Now I'm going to be using this feature in one of my classes, which is how to create flyers, and that's the frame option. So let's take this shape here. All I need to do is, once I've created the shape that I want, let's just make that a little bit bigger there. I can come over to the layers panel. I can right click and I can say convert to frame. We're just going to call that polygon 1 and leave it at that size. And then what I can do is I can then place an image inside it. So I'm going to do that from an embedded image. I'm going to use this road signs layer comp here, and I'll show you why. So that's going to place that image in there. Now, if I come over here to the layer comp PSD, I can actually come down and select one of these shapes that I've got in another document where I set a layer comp using different icons for road signs. So I've got one road sign there. I can change that to a different one, and another, and another. So it doesn't have to be vector shapes, it can be photographs as well. But this is a really cool thing with the new custom shapes, is you've now got this control over the general shapes, and you can use custom shapes and you can also convert them into frames. And as I said, I'll be covering the frames option in my class creating flyers in Photoshop. So I hope you've enjoyed this kind of half tip, half new feature. But there's a couple of cool things that have been added in Photoshop. This is probably my favourite one. I've done another tip video where I showed the new content aware tracing tool, which is cool and needs some work, but this one is my favourite. Don't forget to register for the Photoshop Virtual Summit. It's coming in November, starting on November the 9th. Thanks for watching.